All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Sunday, March 29th, 2020. It is 8:30 p.m., and you are joining us for Podcast PD Live. We are very excited to have you here with us tonight as we are about to get the student perspective on distance learning. I'm Mr. Nessie on Twitter, Chris Nessie. Man, we're really off to a bang here. I am joined, as always, by my podcast compadre, AJ Bianco. AJ, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Mr. Christopher. I don't know why you call yourself Mr. Nessie. That's very weird. You told us, like when we first met you, we're friends. Don't call me Mr. Nessie. So, Christopher, I'm doing very well as we approach week 3 of remote learning.
You know why I wound up doing the Mr. Nessie? Because every live stream I did prior to this one, this week, was me being Mr. Nessie, whether it was for high school or for Rutgers. I've been Mr. Nessie all week.
Daddy.
Oh,
all right. So we got this third wheel here.
Voice. Different third wheel.
The other, we'll call him Little Nessie. Joining us from House of EdTech Studio B is my son, 8-year-old second grader, Miles. What's up, son?
Hello.
Son?
Daddy.
Well, yes.
No more sound effects.
No more. Okay, I'll try to keep the sound effects to a minimum.
See, you know what the best part is about this? I'm going to cut you off real quick, Chris. Just looking at this, because we're live on camera, like I'm looking at you in one room with the equipment all set up. I'm looking at Miles in another room with the equipment all set up. I'm at a dining room table, and I'm like, just makeshift here. Let's put a microphone on the table. And these two knuckleheads are like professionals. He's got the headphone. Like, it's like a mirror image. It's really scary. If he had a blue shirt on, it would be completely different right now.
I'm in my bedroom.
And I'm in the office.
Podcasting equipment in your bedroom?
Yes, it's Daddy's laptop and his microphone.
Man.
And my headphones.
Kids these days.
But, you know, while we're introducing you, Miles, don't you also podcast?
Yes.
Do you want to tell people about your podcast real quick?
It's all about vacuums, and if I ever get around to it, the next episode will be about a Kirby.
Where can people find your podcast?
VacuumPodcast.com.
It's probably got some clean content.
It is squeaky clean. So if you're interested in that, you can go to VacuumPodcast.com. Link will be in the show notes out at PodcastPD.com / I don't have it. 68,
/join.
I think we're 69 this time. I think we were
69.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. But if you are new to what we do here on the live stream, if you want to be a part of the show, if your kids are up and ready to talk about their experience, which is what we have Miles here to do a little bit of tonight, or if you've got questions for Miles, you can throw them in the chat here on YouTube, or you can come on and ask us at podcastpd.com /join, and you can be a part of the program. So AJ, how did week 3 go?
This is week 3. Week 2 is good. I don't know how week 3 is going to go. I'll let you know. But
We'll find out next week, right?
week 2 is okay. I feel like week 2 is a little more calm, I guess. I mean, I wasn't really solving too many problems this time. I think now it's coming to the point where, because we planned for 2 weeks definitely, and we had teachers prepare for weeks 3 and 4, I think now it becomes like a bigger portion of, well, now what? Because we're obviously going to blow past week 4. You know, so
I actually got correspondence from my district that we are out definitely until April 17th, when I guess that's based on what the governor said, that the governor will reevaluate, and then we'll find out where we're at on Friday, April 17th, if we're going back to school on Monday, April 20th.
Ooh.
From what I understand from the governor's tweet or his words, we're not going back until after the 17th, but I don't think that's even... I don't even think that's possible. I'll be honest with you.
Daddy.
Yes, sir.
My podcast sucks. Get it?
Oh.
Sucks.
See?
How long did it take you to think of that, my boy?
I didn't want to say it before. I was going to let it. Good for him.
There you go.
You gave me that as a joke. You gave me that.
Not for today.
I hope it's a joke. I hope it's a joke.
It is a joke.
All right. Let's see. We got some other people ready to join us. Let's bring in Mr. Kevin Carroll, returning. How you doing, sir?
Hey guys, how we doing?
Hey Kevin, what's going on?
Doing good.
Your sidekick there is doing a hell of a job tonight.
Yeah, right. Look at him go.
Not too much effort on his part. He's a natural.
Runs in the family.
Oh, look at this.
So what's going on, Kevin?
Nothing. Looking forward to another week and trying to keep our kids motivated and on track for this learning. I think the high school kids are, starting to get a little old for some of them, and just trying to find a way to keep them motivated and engaged with our teachers and what's going on. We had our marking period end on Friday, so now it's just kind of rethinking how the fourth marking period is going to look.
What are you thinking about that? I know we spoke about it earlier through our coffee edu conversation, but are you leaning toward this pass fail? Are you leaning toward actually grading kids? Are they learning new content? Like, how does that work for the high school kids?
Yeah, I really want to learn more about the pass fail option and what that looks like. I know some schools in Bergen County are talking about it. So I want to spend this week kind of really diving into that a little bit. Our teachers are moving forward with some instruction. We're trying to keep it, manageable, having them understand that it takes a couple days to teach something that taught them, they were teaching it a day in class. And I heard it somewhere, but love the kids, but like the content, so really kind of worry about the kids first and checking in. And I sat in a couple classes last week, and each teacher started off with, how's the workload going for my class? How's the workload going for other classes? How you doing? And if we keep coming back to that, I think we're going to make it through this.
That's a lot of the conversations that I'm having as I'm live streaming and using StreamYard with my own high school world history classes, where I take the time, 10, 15 minutes, how are you doing? How's your family? How are your other classes going? Just trying to, check in, make those connections, which is really important.
Yeah, for sure. I think some of our teachers started actually chunking the class and having a handful of kids coming into their Google Meets or their Zoom ones. And then, those 5 jump out and 5 new kids jump in. Any questions, anything to work on. And I think that's been more manageable for the teachers too. So I don't know if you have anybody in the waiting room of a couple of my kids we're going to hopefully join tonight from Waldwick.
I do. I have, looks like I got 3 young people in the green room, and
Great.
I will get them on, which means before I bring them in, let me get the youngest guy. Let me give him his time real quick. So, Miles, you're in 2nd grade. What has distance learning and learning at home looked like for you so far? What have you had to do?
Writing prompts, reading response, math, science. We even had our first Zoom meeting.
And you are in what grade again?
2nd grade.
And you were on a Zoom call with your teacher and some of the kids in your class, right?
Yes.
What was that like?
Fun.
What was fun about it? What did you like most about that, Miles?
If you use the cursor, my teacher, Miss Morris, can pull up a whiteboard on the screen, and I can use the mouse and draw stuff. And you want to know what I drew?
What did you draw?
What'd you draw?
Take a guess.
A vacuum.
Vacuum.
Correct. You win a prize.
Hey, you gotta brand yourself, little man.
There you go. Now, Miles, what have you been using to submit your work? Miss Morris is giving you work each day to work on. What technology are you using to do the work?
Class Dojo.
Yeah, if you didn't realize, I mean, she can send out prompts. He's actually building a digital portfolio where he can snap pictures of his work, and he can go in on the website and type things up. He's doing math on there, taking pictures of things that he's writing and drawing. And it's actually really cool. I'll try and get some screenshots to include in our show notes. But Class Dojo has certainly been very powerful for him.
That's pretty cool. But I guess it sounds like it's more like Seesaw in that regard. I know Seesaw does the same kind of.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Dojo had this functionality.
Neither did I. It's the first I'm hearing about it.
Well, Miss Morris did it.
Well, why is Miss Morris on this podcast? Let's go, Miss Morris. Where you at? Miles, what's the hardest thing for you with doing this? You miss your friends?
No, I don't get to watch TV all day or vacuum all day.
Well, look, I got a house that needs some vacuuming. If you want to come up this way, like you can use my stuff.
You charging like a landscaper? Like you got your own business going here, Miles, at all? You know, going house to
Yes.
house and vacuuming?
Yes, I just cleaned my neighbor's house and my grandma's.
Good for you.
Wow. Look
Keep
at you.
6 feet away, all right? Make sure you're social distancing while you're in the houses.
I see that. Oh, and I just got a message.
What's the
You got a
message?
tweet? What was it? This guy's going on
Let the
Twitter?
youngins go first, please.
That comes to us from Al. Al is on hold.
Al's in the green room too.
Al's in the green room. Mr. G's in the green room.
Oh boy, we got a big group.
Yeah, we do. All right. Any other thoughts on learning at home, Miles?
Yeah, it's fun. And I don't need to leave the house.
And that's the best part about it, I think. Just waking up, putting on normal clothes, and just getting work done all day.
No, sometimes
That's where he's having a problem. He wakes up and it's the
pajama
we're doing class
party.
in our
It's pajama party. I wake up in pajamas and I keep them on until like 12. But I wake up at like 9. Well, I sleep in. I watch my tablet because it's right next to my bed, leaning on a picture.
Wow, tight ship right there, Miss Nessie.
Mm-hmm.
Tight ship. It sounds like.
well, we make the best of it. All right. So, thanks, buddy. It's time for bed for you.
What?
Good night, Miles.
That quick?
That's it.
Hey, in and out here. We're a fast-moving program.
Why is it so fast moving? It's only been 12 minutes.
But it's 8:42 and it's time for bed. I'm going to kick you out. Go to sleep. I love you. I'll see you in the morning.
Okay, see you in the morning.
Good night,
Good night,
Miles.
Miles.
All right. Take care, buddy. Take care. Like I'm not going to sit. Yeah. Good night.
Yeah, seriously. Take care, pal. See you soon.
The acclaimed Miles, everybody.
I can't get over the fact that he's got a laptop right now, headphones, and a podcast arm in his bedroom.
Well, that's how we do it.
I get it. Teach him young. Teach him young.
I believe the children are our future. There you go. All right.
All right, Kevin, tell us about who's coming in here. Tell us about your students as Chris gets them ready to come in.
All right, and
I can just
jump
bring
out.
them right in.
Sure, either way, or I can jump out if you guys want to run the show.
No,
with
I'm
them.
going to bring them all in. There we
All
go.
right.
We're going to. I hope you know Brendan, Amelia,
Yep.
and
Olivia.
Olivia.
Yes, absolutely.
Hello.
I didn't know we could do this. Hey, guys. Thank you
Let
so
me,
much for joining us tonight. This is pretty cool.
Thank you for having us. I'm
Of course.
excited.
You don't have to be so formal. It's okay.
I'm excited.
There we go.
All right. So, why don't we start with Olivia? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, what grade you're in, and just kind of paint a picture for us for you learning at home.
Okay, so I'm a junior at Waldwick. It's been a little bit hectic at my house, I'm not gonna lie. I have an older brother whose college semester just got transferred to online. My dad has been at home as well as my mom, so it's been a little bit crazy. But I mean, honestly, I can't really complain. I think the teachers at Waldwick do a really good job at like keeping things organized for us and making sure that we know what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and making sure that we're aware that they're there for help if we need them. So, I mean, it hasn't honestly been too bad. I can't really complain.
Amelia?
I'm also a junior. I've got 2 brothers at home, but it hasn't really been hectic. They're kind of sleeping in. But it's pretty much similar. I mean, I wake up at 8, which is nice. It's like I probably haven't gotten this much sleep in a while. All my work is usually done by 3 because that's the deadline, which is nice. Keeps me on track. So it's pretty relaxing. It's like do as you please kind of thing. Just get it done in your own time. Yeah.
Nice. I'm a junior as well. I'm not hating this right now. I'm fortunate to be in a healthy environment and just not in the worst situation, which I'm very fortunate for. But I think the main thing is getting motivated and doing something, whether it be crafts or reading or whether it be video games, but just keeping myself occupied. And I know that might be a struggle for a lot of kids, but for me, I can always keep myself entertained. And I know that's probably a problem with a lot of these staying home for so long. But for me, at least, I'm enjoying it. And I think everybody's doing a pretty good job as of faculty wise, controlling it and getting work out and making it, trying to have a virtual classroom work without putting a 7-hour school day into your house, which is not really possible. So I think it's working pretty well so far. That's what I gotta say.
Amelia, you mentioned deadlines, that they help you stay on track. Some school districts are, giving kids 24, 48 hours to get work done. How do the timelines work for you as a student?
I think they're really helpful because I'm a big procrastinator. Like, I'm like a do it the night before kind of person. So the fact that like teachers say, all right, you have class time to work on it, but if you don't finish it, you need to get it done by like 3, really helps me, because then I don't have to like stay up doing work all night. I know I have to get it done, so I do it, and then my day's free, which is nice.
What does your typical day look like, guys? Like, what are you doing? So you're waking up, you're starting to work, or you're getting adjusted. Walk us through it. Whoever wants to take this one is up to you. Just walk us through like the 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock day for you.
So me, I am the first to admit that I wake up as late as I possibly can while still being on time for school. So I usually get up around like 7:55. And then I am not a big fan of doing my homework in my bed because I know I will not get anything done if I stay in bed. So I come downstairs, and not that it's much better, but I sit on my couch all day. And then 8 o'clock, I sit through my first period and I do all my work that needs to be done. And then a big thing for me is I like to go through my other classes and see if my teachers have posted any work that I can get done before I'm actually in their class. And then I just kind of go through my day, through my classes, and I go on Google Meets with my teachers when they need to. And then I just try and stay on top of my work and get it done as quickly as I can without having to worry about like interrupting my other classes. So.
My day's not far off. I'm doing pretty similarly what Olivia's doing. I'm kind of picking and choosing what I want to do. I'm not really sitting through each class. I'm seeing what has a pressing deadline, which is nice, whether it be at 12:30 or 3 o'clock, and then I'm doing it right away. Other things, I might wait a little bit and take breaks so that I am giving my full attention to what needs to be done instead of being sidetracked with a bunch of things, because in our houses, we have a lot more distractions than we probably do in the school day. Or in a school environment. But yeah, I do enjoy the fact that there is less deadlines, but they're structured better. I think I like it how it's working.
Yeah, I'm probably more on the side with Brendan, where like I go through my classes, see what work is assigned, and then I like pick and choose what I want to do. Like when I have a book to read first period, I don't do it first period because I know it's going to put me back to sleep. So like that's something I like save for another period, and maybe I'll like flip flop the work that I have to do.
Now, besides trying to wake up early and, get your work done, what else do you find is maybe challenging or that you struggle with here after a few weeks of trying to do this from home?
I think a big thing for me is just finding the motivation to get on and make sure that I'm doing all my work. I mean, as a junior, I have a pretty rigorous schedule. I take a lot of honors and AP classes, so it's kind of hard for me to like find the time and the energy to like force myself to sit down and actually do my work, because a lot of the stuff that goes through my head is like, oh, will it really matter if I don't do it? Like, are my teachers really going to know? So I feel like a big thing for me has just been finding the self-motivation to really sit down and make sure I do everything that needs to be done so that like I finish all my assignments and that I understand all the lessons that I'm supposed to be learning.
I'd say mine is probably focus, because like in school, you're kind of like forced to stay focused. Whereas like in my bedroom, I have like my phone right next to me. I have like my dogs right down the stairs. So like in school, you're in an environment where like if you start like getting distracted, your teacher like pulls you right back. But it's a little more challenging to stay focused when like you have to make sure you're doing it for yourself. Right.
And I agree with that. I also think, and this is something that you can't perfect or try and edit so that it is similar to a school environment, because it's such a strange and challenging thing that we're put into, but is complications that you have and wanting to ask questions, while we have different platforms and media that we can with Remind and video calls that we can have. Still, there's nothing the same as face-to-face or just quick question, because some of these aren't big enough questions to send an email, send a reminder, which I could do, but it's just, there's some things that are just a little more complicated, and adapting to that is what I will have to do. And I think it has progressed over the second week from the first week.
So we have a question coming in from some people who are listening, and I'm going to go with Al's question. How often are you guys on Google Meet? Is that a everyday kind of thing, or is there a set schedule?
It's they sent it out the day before, I think, or that morning, and we've really only had a couple classes that have it, and it's not the most often thing. I think most teachers have said that they want to start doing it at least once a week or however often, because I think that would be a really good thing, having that connection. But it isn't often as maybe, I think I've had 3 this week and the same the first week. So they aren't the most frequent things. I don't know about you guys.
I think it depends on your schedule. I know for my Spanish class, my teacher's very she's a meet in person kind of thing. So we'll have a meet at least 3 times a week, just because she wants to see us, hear our voices, which is nice. The teachers are trying to stay connected. Some classes it's definitely harder to, my economics class had a meet the other day, but a lot of the work is geared more towards individual stuff. So I think teachers are trying to do what they can. I usually have at least 1 meet a day though.
I feel like a lot of it also too just depends on the class size and how important it is to have teacher student connection, because I know for me and my bigger classes it's a little bit harder to have meets with the entire class and try and keep everything organized. So I know for some of those classes they split us up into groups, but I feel I have them regularly enough where I'm not feeling overwhelmed, but I know my teachers are still putting an effort to try and communicate with us and connect with us as if we were still in school.
Yeah, last week at the staff meeting, I mentioned to the staff to please give the students 24-hour notice, before they were going to do a live session, just so that the students were aware of it and they were checking, classroom in the morning. We are following a half-day schedule, so the kids aren't being pulled at 9 o'clock by 2 or 3 teachers. It depends on what class they have at that time. And the feedback from the kids is they've liked that structure.
So, Kevin, at your school, you guys are running some type of time schedule. So to avoid that issue of, 3 teachers trying to meet with kids at the same time, there is a structure to the day.
Yeah, we are following a bell schedule. And that only for the reason of not to pull the kids and teachers in multiple directions at the same time. Assignments don't have to be completed during that time period, but that allowed, I wanted to see the live, connections happening the moment we left school, 3 weeks ago. I wasn't afraid of it. I wasn't trying to hide from it. I thought it was important to keep the relationships that our teachers built with our students from September to now. I didn't want that to go away. So it was just a comfort factor and teachers getting, used to the platforms. And, I encouraged last week that they do 1 live session a week. But I also said, you have families, you have responsibilities. I understand all that. And I don't want to overwhelm the kids either with live sessions every period throughout the day. So I think we're trying to find that balance and asking the kids weekly what's going on. So far, so good.
And also in your school, Kevin, are you guys one-to-one? Do you guys have your own devices, or does the school give it to you? What is the situation in your school?
You guys can answer that.
We each have our own Chromebook. Yeah.
Good to know. Also coming in from the chat, and I guess this, I'll throw it up here. Do you guys go into Google Meets after the teacher leaves?
For group projects, I know I have. We had a physics project due the other day, and me and my group members met on Meets and worked it out for a couple hours. But usually after a class period, if the meet ends, the kids don't hang around because we do have other classes afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, a big thing for us is I know at least with myself and my kind of friend group, we are huge fans of just FaceTime group calls. We have a group chat, and it's actually it's me, Amelia, and then a few other girls we go to school with, and it is very popular for us. We do use it a lot when we need it. So.
All right, do you want to take Mike's question?
Yeah. So another question, basically on the idea of Google Meet. Mike asks, would you prefer to have live interactive Google Meet lesson, or just an opportunity to get virtual face-to-face time if needed? So do you guys like that interactive lesson, or or do you want just a quick, hey, here's what I'm doing so far. Let me move on to my next class.
I think it depends on the class. Like certain ones, they can just be straightforward. Our physics in different classes, whether it be science or math, sometimes just a lesson out on the whatever platform it might be, that you can just see it, do your assignment. But sometimes it might be confusing, and I think having teachers have that open. We have an open time, so from like 12:30 or 1 to 3, I think, right? 1 to 3, they're open and they're like on call for any questions. And I really like that we can just ask them anything. But about that, would you rather have live interactive? I do enjoy that because even if it's not, even some classes, it doesn't really work having that live lesson, just being able to interact and just see each other's face and just talk about whatever it may be. I know you guys were talking about that before we came on, just having a conversation with people and just how are you doing? Because it's a very complicated and confusing time. I think is really beneficial for all of us. So I think both a lesson and just being able to talk to each other.
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of both, because although I do like love my teachers and all my peers, I don't want to spend like the 45-minute class period just talking, because that does feel very unproductive to me. So what a lot of my teachers do, which is nice, is you spend the first like 5-10 minutes just catching up, like, oh, how are you guys holding in? Like, what's been going on? Is everyone doing well? And then they go into like an interactive lesson, which I appreciate because I do have like a lot of spur of the moment questions that are like easier to answer as it's going.
I feel like Amelia and Brendan were saying it's definitely got to be like a mix of both. I know at Waldwick, like my math teacher and my physics teacher have been very, very keen on like recording videos for us and then posting them on Classroom and having us watch them, which I think has been very helpful, because I think with those two kind of subjects, it's nice to kind of be able to go back and like rewatch what you need to rewatch and always have them there and not feel like you need to try and rush to get a question out if it's live. But then it's also nice to like, for my other classes, to have like the interaction, like they were saying. Like I have some teachers that I've had for more than 1 year, like I've had them previous to this school year. So it's definitely nice to just be able to like know that they're there and putting in the effort to make sure that I'm okay.
And that's a nice thing with Google Meets, that you can just record the call, or I think probably Zoom does the same thing, but with different platforms, that they can record the call and then put it on their classroom page, and you can see what other students asked, go back to what the lesson was, but see, because you might have the same question as somebody else and just see that again. So I think that's a really good thing to take advantage of.
What do you got besides Google Meet? What do you guys think has been the best tool that your teachers have been using to help you throughout this process? So you're going into week 3 now. So 2 weeks under your belt. Best tool, Remind.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. My teachers like remind me, and they'll like let me know, like, oh, remember,
I see what you did there.
Which is we have a meet in like 20 minutes, or they'll like, my English teacher reminds me and she's like, oh, don't forget, like you have a deadline due tonight, which is very nice, because in school, like it's very different hearing the things you kind of remember better, but when you're at home and you just have like a list of assignments, sometimes it's hard to remember what is due and when. So I'd say Remind as well.
Yeah, Remind, and just taking advantage of just the Classroom, and just different teachers have put out. Obviously, we have a lot of free time now, so to be able to see what is kind of the lesson plan for that week is helpful for us, because they're obviously not able to like completely teach it, and we can look back, go through whether it be the textbook or this or that, and just see it throughout the week, because we probably have more time than we would in the regular school day with sports and that. So we can see everything ahead of time, and I think that's a really good tool.
Remind was one of the best purchases, because we have the school plan. So I paid for the access to all of it. So all our coaches, all our advisors, kids were not checking email, they were not, and even your best of your best kids were not. They were just checking Google Classroom, and teachers would be sending emails and nobody would be reading them or responding. So we all know they live on their phones. So that's where the Remind came in, and it's been a home run. And, as they just said, that it's been great for us.
Yeah, I think Remind is a great tool, and it's something I've used. I think it's a forgotten tool these days. So with Remind, Kevin, I'll direct this to you. You probably know more. Do the parents get involved too, or this is straight up for the kids? The teachers are going to communicate with them only.
Yeah, as the rollout happened, it was really just for the teachers and students. I'd love to get a parent group set up. I mean, I know it's not hard; it just becomes a matter of time and the implementation of it. But there are some parents who get the code somehow, and I see names pop up. And it is something we want to incorporate as we move forward, because everything through a phone is how people are living now and getting information from.
We have another person in the green room who I am going to bring in, which means I'm going to step off for a second. So, AJ, fly the plane.
Oh, great. Who's jumping in here?
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the conversation. So tell us about your experience as throughout this remote learning. This is Riley that just jumped in, everybody. Go ahead, Riley.
So I live in Pennsylvania, so things are very different for us. Our remote learning technically starts tomorrow morning.
Oh.
Yeah, so all of our teachers are technically supposed to send all of our assignments tomorrow morning. So you basically just get bombarded with all of the work, and then you just do the assignments throughout the week.
And what is your school using in order to dish out these assignments?
Google Classroom and Google Meets.
Okay. Yeah. And what year are you, Riley? What grade is it?
I'm in 8th grade.
8th grade. Okay. So what do you
have? Did you have devices before you left school?
We don't get Chromebooks until freshman year of high school. So I'm just using my phone and my home computer right now.
Okay.
Great.
How long have you been out of school?
2 weeks.
And what have you been doing for those 2 weeks?
We're just kind of chilling at home. I mean, we're not really doing much.
You've had no work that you had to do. You've been able to just kind of take this all in, and relax for these 10 days.
Optional work.
Okay.
I mean, I've done that, but it's not graded, so we couldn't really do much.
Gotcha.
Does the WA's crew have any ideas or guidelines for Riley as she jumps into this learning tomorrow?
Try and stay on track of your stuff. I mean, what I try and do is if I know my teacher posted something that's due the next day, I'll try and at least get half of it done the night before, or just start it that way. Like it's a little more manageable. Or if I wake up at like 8 o'clock and I don't have any work first period, I can just go back to bed, which is nice.
I know you just said that you're going to get bombarded tomorrow morning, but and I know this is a hard thing to do, and I get stressed easily, and I know a lot of high school students do, and even just in middle school. But just try and chill out, take some breaks, go outside. And hopefully it's a nice day tomorrow or just this week, and just take breaks and then go back to the work. But it's better if we're just calming down, because this is a challenging time for all of us, and we're going to get through it.
Like Brennan was saying, like just try not to make it all about school. Like I know it may seem hard, but like you just need to make sure that you're also focusing on like spending time for yourself and spending time with your family or pets or whatever. Because if you just try and focus solely on school, it's going to be extremely overwhelming. And I promise you, it's going to be hard to get through however long this is. So just make sure that you don't make everything about school. Like, of course, do your work, get it all done when it needs to be done, but don't focus solely on school.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great advice, guys. Thank you for sharing that. Riley, any other questions for the other students here as you're getting yourself ready? Anything you're nervous about?
I'm just like, I obviously just don't know how much work we're going to be having tomorrow, so I don't really.
I think your teachers are going to be good about it. I know our teachers, like the first week that we started learning from home, they definitely took into account that it is a transition for all of us, including the teachers. So they tried to make the workload manageable, and it's not going to be too bad, at least the first week. And then it might start increasing, of course, but you really get the hang of it. It's not awful.
And if it is Riley, speak up. Student voice, use your voice. I stole your thunder, Olivia.
Yeah.
You got to finish my thought. I know you have your opinion.
I was just gonna say, obviously we can't speak for you because we're juniors in high school, so we don't really know what it's like for you at where you're at in school. But the most important thing is just make sure you talk to your teachers. If you're ever feeling overwhelmed, or if you have friends that feel overwhelmed, just make sure you voice your opinion. Just make sure that you let everybody know that you and a few friends or anybody is feeling overwhelmed and you feel like it's too much work, or just make sure people know.
Yeah, I'd say just know if you're feeling it, like there's definitely other kids that are too. Like you're not going to be alone.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, everyone struggles with that from time to time. You know, there are times you don't really want to ask a question, but knowing that I'm not the only one definitely helps.
Yeah.
That's also a big thing with this whole like online learning. Don't be afraid to ask your teachers questions. Like never feel like, oh, like I shouldn't ask this, it's a dumb question. Like if you're confused, like Amelia was saying before, chances are other people are probably confused too. So just be that person and ask the question if you have it.
Actually, I have a question for you, Riley. How did you discover us? Because you were not a young person who I expected to pop into the program. So how'd you find Podcast PD? I surprised her, I guess.
I guess so.
Maybe she didn't know it's for her.
Riley, can you hear me?
What?
I guess not.
I can't hear anything. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, this makes for great radio. All right. Well,
She's gone.
we'll bring Riley back in. It's
She
The
can always
signal
jump back
dropped.
in, it's all right.
we'll bring her back in.
All right, I'm gonna ask the Waldwick students this question because I know the principal's not here. So, do you guys feel like you're being challenged enough, or do you want more?
I don't think anyone wants more. I mean, that's just the high schoolers. Like, I mean, I don't think many people are going to ask for more work, even if they're not being challenged. But I definitely think like the workload it like varies from class to class. I know like some periods I'll be done in like 20 minutes, but other periods I'll spend like the entire class period and then another 20 minutes after the fact. So I think between all my classes combined, it's enough.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely been like the perfect amount for me. I never feel like I'm too overwhelmed. And as like everyone knows that junior year is the hardest. So it's kind of been a nice mental break for me with all this because I feel like my teachers have, like being completely honest, they've definitely toned down the amount of work we've been getting, which in a way has kind of been nice because I feel like now it's a big time that we start studying for like AP exams and everything. So it's kind of been nice to not have to worry about the like quote unquote like filler work that we'd get in a normal class day. So I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I think most of it that we're getting is just strictly what we're like kind of working towards, whether it be a couple of AP classes that I'm in. It's just really studying now because the AP exams are closer. I think the due date's closer, but it's just adapting to that. It's a shortened test, so for those classes, it's changing that all up. But just like Olivia said, even if it's not busy work in school, there's just a lot less. But I think the core stuff is still there, so I don't really think we need anything. I mentioned to Mr. Carroll in a individual thing when we were all there that the only circumstance that I would ask for more is if it prevented us from getting bombarded with tests and this and that when we came back, because that's definitely not what I want. So I would take on a little bit more if it meant not having that, but I know we're definitely gonna have tests when we come back because we haven't really been able to have that while we're gone. But I don't really want more right now, definitely.
Well, it sounds like you're all taking AP classes, so I'm sure you're all excited that no matter what AP test you're taking, it's going to be online in only 45 minutes as opposed to 3 or 4 hours. So I'm sure that's exciting for everybody. But based on something you just said, Brendan and Amelia and Olivia, that was me trying to get the question back in my head and it just kind of went away.
Fine.
Oh, you mentioned we're talking about like AP test and assessment. In the chance that school doesn't go back anytime soon, what have your teachers said, if anything, about what tests or quizzes or assessment will look like while you're learning from home? And actually, we'll bring Mr. Carroll back in case he's got thoughts on that as well.
I have had tests and quizzes so far, actually. I've had some in more like my math-related classes just because it can be geared online because, like, numbers can be changed, of course, and they can put time limits on them. not many of my teachers have addressed yet the tests or quizzes, but I think that's because like we're all still figuring it out. But I think like we definitely will start to take some from home if this like keeps going on.
Yeah,
I haven't had many.
Yeah.
Sorry, Olivia.
At least for like, I know like there'd been a couple times even in class, like while we were in school, where we had like quizzes online for like math or physics. So those are really the only classes that I've had any at home with, where like Amelia was saying the numbers can be changed. But I mean, I feel like just like Amelia was saying, in time, the English and the history teachers, I think they'll all figure it out too.
When we left for school was, there was only a week and a half left for the third marking period. So a lot of teachers had grades in their grade books already. So we really didn't want to focus on assessments and testing once we were out right away. So I'm glad to hear most teachers listened and followed through on that. But it's something that we're talking about. Some teachers are really struggling with how are they going to assess students. No offense, but we do know students are going to be on their group chats. They're going to be, cheating on these things to get a good grade. It's no secret. But that's where we come back to, what does a good test look like? Is it authentic? What are the types of questions? Are we really having the students, give back what they've learned and show the process? So, some math teachers, I've talked them off the ledge about how does this look? But we've had some good conversations. We've had some self-reflections. And as I said earlier, we got to figure out what the fourth market period is going to look like. And I've tried to be honest this whole process with my staff and students is, I don't know yet. I don't know what that entails. And I just want the kids to keep learning. And we always want to learn. It shouldn't be about a test or an assessment. But we know that's not reality. So we have to figure what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I personally think the best thing teachers can probably do is give group projects, because not only do we have so much more free time without sports after school and just class ending by like 12:30 and assignments due at 3, but I know like I was in group projects and it was nice because like it gives you an excuse to talk to people and collaborate with people you might not normally like be talking to now that we're not in school every day. And I don't know, I just think like they're larger point assignments that take time. So I enjoyed those.
Amelia, do you find that the group projects are more challenging because you really can't get together, even though you have more time? It's not like you can go to the library or go to someone's house and, do that stuff. So is technology helping or hindering in these group projects?
I'd say it's a mix. Some things are definitely hard, like when it's easier to be like collaborating with someone in person and like working out problems and like brainstorming. But like we share our screens on Google Meet. So if we have a question, for the most part, like I'll just pull up my screen and be like, all right, do you see this number? Like, do you know how to like fix it or something? So it's not as easy. It takes more time, but I think it still works.
And usually when we do have regular projects in school, a lot of it is at home, whether I'm talking group projects that we FaceTime each other, call each other, share our screens, do this and that. We haven't used Google Meets, which is a even easier platform to get used to. But a lot of this we are used to because we have so much at home already with homework. So it hasn't been, as of group projects, hasn't been the hardest to work on adapting to the work. It's more so the presenting that Amelia and I figured out. Presenting was a little difficult, at least the first time, trying to take a video of ourselves presenting and then edit it and then upload it when it wasn't uploading. But it's all things that we're getting used to and working out the kinks.
We call that productive struggle.
Yeah. The whole like recording yourself, it's definitely probably the biggest struggle as far as like actually working on the project. Like I know for us, we just got done with the project for our physics class. We had to record ourselves in a group giving a presentation. And I know for my group, it took us like a solid hour and a half to finally get a recording that we were okay with. Because it's for us, it was like a lot of knowing that like if we messed up, we could start over. Like when you're in class, like if you mess up, there's no going back. You just have to keep going. So I feel like that was definitely one of the big things, was just figuring out how to make a presentation work.
But it ended up working.
I don't know if anybody caught what just happened, but Amelia, on my screen, you were just drinking something out of a water bottle, and you put it down. It went behind Olivia's head, and then Mr. Carroll picked up his water bottle. Looked like you guys passed the bottle.
I did not notice.
The fun of video. Also, real quick, Mike Brilla in the chat. He's a teacher in Pennsylvania, and Riley is one of his middle school students that he encouraged to come on here and share her perspective. So thank you to Mike Brilla, previous guest of Podcast PD, and thank you to Riley for popping in.
Very nice.
You guys want to share how some of the special teachers are living and working in this environment?
At least for me, the one that I'm avid about and like a lot during, and it's going to be hard to adapt to, but we have already, is TV production and film. We're trying to do live shows. We've had one with Mr. Carroll alone, and then another just as a crew. It's different. The day-to-day class isn't really there, but trying to work towards an end project, which is kind of, or like a weekly project, is kind of what you have to do. And I know that's probably going to be something with other classes, whether it be art. I haven't really experienced that, but it probably will be the case that probably putting an assignment in a 45-minute class is not going to work, but working towards something, say at Friday or next week, that you can turn in then is probably going to be the better situation, because I know that worked for us, getting that live stream out and making our own videos at home. While it was a challenge, it ended up working pretty well. So at least for us, I really enjoyed that. And I think it gives us a break from the regular work, which it already does in the regular school day. And it transferred well into virtual classroom.
I'm not really in any like artistic classes. My electives are psychology and economics, so I can't really comment.
How's your gym Flipgrids working out?
They're interesting. I have little 2-minute workouts in my room every day. So
That sounds like what I'm doing with CrossFit. Is I work out in my garage and I post on my Instagram stories to my my CrossFit gym.
yeah,
It's all about accountability.
yeah.
All right, we got a couple of people in the green room. They might have some questions for you guys, so we're gonna bring in. He's been on the last couple of weeks. We're gonna bring in Mr. Al Spiegel. Al, how you doing? You got questions for the kids? How's life in your world? What's going on, Al?
All the above. Hey, everybody. Thanks. I think this is great that you're able to get on here and talk with us. So I work at Bergen Catholic. I'm the director of technology, and what I was saying in the chat was what we do every week or every day. Our kids go 6 classes a day, 45 minutes a class, and they're online. They're on camera every moment of the day. So my question to you is: do you think that's too much? Not enough? Would you, if you were in that boat, would you do that? 45 minutes times 6 periods every day, 5 days a week?
Okay.
I think that'd be stressful.
So the teachers can see through the kids' cameras like at all times.
We would be doing this. I mean, in Collaborate, you only see the top 6 noisemakers. It's not like Zoom where you can see everybody, but still, like, you'd be doing this every day with your teacher.
That'd personally be a little much for me. I mean, I know, like, I'm as much as I love collaborating with people, I'm also like an independent worker at times. And like, sometimes it honestly gets like distracting trying to get work done while also in like a call. So it is nice, like, having periods to myself where I know, like, I can just focus, get this all done, and then move on to my next period's class. But I don't know. It's me.
I think that would definitely keep me on. Sorry. I think that would definitely keep me on task more, being in that, like, always in that classroom environment almost. At the same time, I think it's really hard to replicate a classroom in your house and trying to stay focused with all this around you. And I definitely know I wouldn't be able to do it. I think it'd be a lot for me. And I do like the freedom that I have, because this is such a crazy time. Being able to deal with it on my own is something that I'm glad that I have. But I don't know. I'd have to see.
Okay.
So honestly, funny enough, both of my older brothers are Bergen Catholic alums.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but it's not like your last name is common. So, yeah. Yep.
So I do know a few kids who go there, and I'm actually good friends with a junior who goes there. And He honestly, there's been no real big complaints about it. Of course, once he finds out how Waldwick does it, he's a little envious because he does realize we have a little bit more freedom. But there's been really no major complaints from them.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know. I think what I do hear is that they actually enjoy that, being able to see their friends, because they're not just all the kids from the same town. We've got kids from almost 100 different towns, all over the place. So I know they enjoy. Any other, you feel like your workload is appropriate? You're not being asked to do too much or too little?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. I enjoy the amount that we have, and I think I'm getting enough to be learning a sufficient amount and on task for what the end goal, whether it be an AP test or final. I think we're on task for all my classes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think teachers are really taking into consideration the fact that we are teaching ourselves some of this because some of it is independent work. So we'll read articles or watch a video and take notes. So I think teachers understand that is a little more effortful. So they are really just sticking straight to the point work. There's not fluff work, which I appreciate because we learn what we have to learn and we're done.
I feel like Mr. Carroll has definitely been very honest with the teachers about what we need to be doing and what he thinks is enough or too much. So I think our teachers have really been taking that all into consideration, and they've also been very open. The teachers at Waldwick are very good at if I'm being completely honest with you, I got really stressed out this period and I didn't have time to finish your work. I mean, I think that's definitely one of the big pluses for us, at least, is they're very understanding. So it's honestly been nice to just not have to overly worry about the amount of work I have to get done.
Al, how are your teachers reacting to this new world of having to go live every period, every day?
I think the sense I get from them is that they feel it's a little much, especially if it's a day when they're teaching, when they've got 5 classes. So they're going the 5 classes and most of them have their own kids at home. So they're trying to, I know when my kids are with me, they're always behind me, making faces. And so trying to balance, work and home when everything is at home. I also know that I think there are times where I think we are trying to replicate the physical classroom. And there are times where our teachers will say, okay, you're doing an independent assignment, or you're doing what, when I was a kid, we call seat work. And I don't need to be watching you on a camera work on your computer. And I think we're somewhere that's getting lost in translation, that it's okay if we don't see them on camera, or if we say, listen, if you need me, I'll be in the room, but you don't have to be in here, as long as you're getting work done. And I think that's the part that, to me, it seems we're missing in translation. That's just, we don't need all of it. We don't need to be on every day. Maybe we could go 2 days a week, a hybrid model. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think that if you're still trying to keep it where there are days where your kids meet with all their teachers just so they can see their teachers and their friends, I would honestly try and cut it down to 2-3 times a week max, because I feel like speaking as someone who has to do online school every day, it's going to get to the point where it just kind of becomes unbearable eventually. And I feel like once it hits that unbearable point for these kids, that's when everyone's going to start checking out. So if I'm being completely honest, I would honestly try and tone it down a little bit.
No, and I appreciate that. I would take nothing less than absolute honesty at this point, because what I'd like to bring some of this back, to my team and talk about, now 2 weeks out and at least what it looks like, at least another probably month of this, where do we go from here? So, yeah. Now, Kevin, are these all your students from Waldwick?
Yes. Yep.
I'm very impressed with their maturity and their ability to carry on the conversation. Very impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It's always nice when I'm always one that I always like to hear what students have to say directly, and as raw as it can be. But they're all very polished. I'm really impressed. I thank you for your candidness, the 3 of you.
Yeah, when I was setting this up with them, and I said, be honest, right? Say what the positives, say the negatives. They always know they can kind of share their thought. We have a breakfast club with a principal's breakfast club, I call it. And I have a range of kids from freshmen through seniors where we get together and I just kind of throw ideas off them. You know, they throw ideas off me, and we're scheduled. We'll see for Tuesday, 1:30, I think it is, right? We're supposed to have a call like this with the Commissioner of Education. So I had tweeted at him and said, you want to talk to kids that are doing how it's going. He replied back and said, let's set it up. So I know he's been busy.
That's great.
He's been busy last week, but hopefully, we get face-to-face with him on Tuesday and get to share a message and share the messages that I know the kids, when they talk to their friends in other towns, have perspectives as well.
That's great. That's great. And I know next week I'll have, we'll get the elementary perspective. I know I'll have my own kids. They'll be, they're chomping at the bit to get on. So you'll definitely get an elementary perspective next week. But no, that's great. I'm very appreciative that they were able to be on and be so candid. And I like that Breakfast Club idea. That's really cool.
Thank you. It's worked out well, right, guys, so far?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
I like it.
Yeah, you can all bend me your $20 for saying all that good stuff now.
Like, honestly, I think a really big thing that like teachers and administrators need to keep in mind is that like something like this, I know Mr. Carroll has been like very good at like making sure we know that he wants us to tell him our feelings on everything. So I feel like just in general, that's a big thing that like teachers and administrators need to keep in mind is like they need to tell their kids to be honest with what's working for them and what's not, and what they feel needs to be changed to make this more doable for them.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I know that some people would not listen to, would not be able to have this kind of dialogue with a student because, the teacher's always right. And some of us are like, you gotta tell us because we think we know what we're doing, but we might be totally off base and we need that feedback. I mean, we're all in this together. This is not a teacher student, we're all in this together. So
communication is certainly key. And we know that Kevin has a lot of great ideas and does a lot of wonderful things in his school. So yes, we do want to have him on as a full featured guest on a future episode of Podcast PD. And he knows that. But as we start to bring this segment to a close, first, Al, thank you for coming in and asking your question. Really appreciate it. And we'll definitely set up and formalize the elementary perspective because my son's voice is just one unique perspective. So we'd certainly like to broaden that up a little bit. But Al, we will talk to you. We will talk to you soon. And
sounds good. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Al.
You're welcome.
And thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So one last question for the fine young people. Again, first, thank you, Brendan, Amelia, and Olivia for taking time on a Sunday night before you can sleep until 8:30, 9:30 tomorrow. I know it's going to be a long day tomorrow. How do you think this experience, again, you're juniors in high school, how do you think this experience will benefit you either short-term or long-term as you go forward in life?
I think this is personally, obviously not exactly like it, but it's like a look into college. Like your teachers give you work and you have to figure out how to manage your own time. So speaking from someone who is awful at managing their time, I think this has definitely helped me with that, which I appreciate it.
I definitely agree with that. And in the future, not just me, but I hope society, I know this is kind of a big idea, but I hope that with all of us being home and doing a lot of work from home, hope that a lot of occupations realize that they can do their jobs from home. And from an environmentalist perspective, I do really enjoy seeing how little car and commuting there is. As much as this is a terrible thing, I hope that there will be cut down on that when people realize that a lot of their jobs can be done at home if it is up to par as when it is in the real environment of their work. But for me, I hope I can show that, and I don't know how it really relates to me, but I think as a big picture, I hope that is a thing that comes into play.
I feel like definitely for me, it's just been a lot of like learning and figuring out what works for me as a student, as a person, figuring out, like Amelia was saying, how to balance my time, how to find the motivation in myself to get my work done. And I mean, like, as someone who has two older brothers, it's definitely been like, for me, what I think is going to be a good look into what college life is going to be like, just that having like so much free time where like you don't have to worry about being in a class and like figuring out like when you get your work done, like when you have time for yourself, when you make yourself food. So I think it's definitely been like overall a really good learning experience for everyone, but personally for myself, figuring out a lot of time management.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry.
I think
go
they're
ahead.
right. I just think they're right on target because I think we talk about trying to prepare our kids for the real world, whatever that means. And sometimes in schools we coddle them, we do. And now that's not happening. And some of our teachers are even saying like, I might have been too nice with giving them extensions and, not always sticking to a deadline because I would see their face and then I would feel bad. And I think this is taught teachers and students that, we have to change some of our practices and the way that we do things to benefit all of us.
Yeah, I think it's really teaching us to be independent because, like, obviously we're not in a classroom where teachers are walking around like, oh, does anyone have any questions? Like, if you need something, like it's on you to reach out. If you
Definitely.
you need to work in a group, like it's on you to make the connections and like say like, hey, we need to get together. So
Yeah, like Amelia was saying, I think it's been very instrumental in making people more independent as far as like not just school, but like life, like having to figure out how to make stuff work for you when you have siblings that are working or parents that are working. And like she was saying, like finding time for everyone that like where you can work on a project. Like I think that's very much something that happens in real life, like having to find time where everybody can meet to talk about something. So I think even now, like where we are in life, focusing so much on like our future and what's to come next, but even like with younger kids, I think it's definitely been overall just a good learning experience for everyone in all aspects.
Right. And you said it before, Chris, that the three words that communication is key. Whether it is this extreme environment that we're in right now, that we'll realize that just communicating with each other and getting this done, we're voicing out our opinions and voicing out how we can make a change to better this environment and make it as beneficial for all of us. But just in any environment, just communicate, and hopefully it'll be easier when we're back together and no longer in this lockdown. But when we just showing how easily we can communicate even when in these hard times. So I think communication, realizing how important it is, will be a big thing when we come out of this and in the future.
So do you guys think that school is going to change going forward because of all of this new technology and this craze? Or do you think once people get comfortable back in their classrooms, it's going to go right back where it was in September and October and November?
I feel like
sorry, you go.
Okay. I feel like this is definitely going to change a lot of stuff because like Mr. Carroll was saying before with like teachers and like deadlines and like, oh, like I saw their face and like I had to give them that extension. Like I feel like it's definitely been like a reality check for a lot of people. Even like students, teachers, parents, like I feel like everyone now just kind of understands like how much kids really could be getting done, how much kids aren't getting done because they don't want to, and how much kids aren't getting done because they can't. So I think definitely things are going to change once we go back to school. Even if the change isn't drastic, I think it'll definitely be there.
Definitely.
I don't know that I feel like personally things won't change that much. I think teachers might like trust us to be more reliable and like get our own work done. But for the most part, I think that this has been kind of hard on both the students and the teachers. So I kind of feel like the teachers are going to go back to like normal because that's just what's comfortable. And like I don't know, we've been doing it for so long.
I know maybe not just every school, but I know definitely with our school being a small town, and we always say it that we're so close and close knit. This is the times that we really exemplify that and show how close knit we are and really come together. And I think how we rebound from this, and I hope that is for other schools too, will really show in the when we do come back and forever onwards.
I think Al, who just left a comment in the live chat, his comment is no more snow days ever. So yeah, I think that is definitely one change that you could see with a lot of places being able to say, all right, hey, if it snows, we have a digital learning day and, things can be done. It can
No.
That would be sad.
No. What?
I mean,
on.
Defeats the purpose of a snow day.
With brothers who went to Bergen where they already do that a lot, I think, honestly, snow days are a very much needed break in the middle of a year.
But then again, maybe they're more likely to call a virtual day. If they know that they have this platform to do that, they might be more maybe not. Maybe
Maybe only
Does it count as a full day if we have a snow day?
It does.
maybe
Let's-
only like 1 or 2, and we can keep the rest normal.
I would
Then
take
again, I don't know
snow
if snow
days,
is even a thing
snow
anymore.
days if we got off from Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah. Well, who's going to tweet and remind me while it's snowing out to say, are we having a snow day? Are we having a snow day? Come on.
I will do it. I volunteer myself.
I know
for the
you
rest
will.
of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know if
next
snow is a
year.
thing anymore, unfortunately.
True.
Children and students of the world, let it be known, I am a fan of snow days.
I love snow
Thank
days.
you.
So am I.
All right. Kevin Carroll is the principal of Waldwick High School in Bergen County, New Jersey. We were fortunate enough to also be joined by students in his high school, Brendan, Amelia, and Olivia. Thank you to all of you for sharing the student perspective here on Podcast PD. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Anytime.
having us.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having
guys.
us.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
so
us,
much.
guys. Appreciate it.
All right. And coming up next, AJ, we're going to have our special segment
Our guest of honor.
of the episode, our not the guest of honor per se,
I guess.
but we're going to keep Kevin with us, and we're going to go to, I feel like I'm on channel 2, no, channel 11? Channel 11 here in the tri-state area. We're going to go to Mr. G.
He's on site tonight. There he is, back in the garage, Mr. G.
What's up, Ron?
Look, before those kids leave, if they're still watching, those kids are awesome. That was the best, Like, oh, there they are. Good. Yeah,
We
like,
still got Brendan. Go ahead.
Hey,
yeah, perfect. Yeah, I like this kid already. This guy's like, oh yeah, there's no more snow. He's the environmental. Hey, me too, man. And I'm a gasoline dude. Like I fix cars and whatnot. I teach shop class, but we're switching to electric. So I have all
That's
my
awesome.
electric set up right here. I was gonna do a demo for Miles. He's into vacuums. That's all about electricity.
mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah.
Ron,
so
I'm
that
not going to
was-
lie to you. Miles could teach you a thing or two about the vacuum.
I like it. That's great. Think about is he a fan of Dyson?
Dyson and Mealy and Kirby and Henry and
Wow.
yeah, he's out of his mind.
If he's still here, I set up a demo for him. I wanted to talk to him about amps. You could actually measure the amps and whatnot. It's kind of cool.
Well,
Anyway.
you'll be back here next week, and I'll get you on. We'll get you on. We'll get the Mr. G segment in early, and I'll bring him
Perfect.
back in. So
Yeah.
don't break it down.
So okay, so I just got a question. So like I have I'm gonna take their suggestion is that I'm gonna make videos, right, with video instruction, and then I'm gonna ask the kids questions, and then they can answer it on their own time, type of thing. So basically, what I got here is like I got an electric motor, and I run this, and then I can actually measure the amps. The thing is that like when I'm in person, I can say to the kid like, all right, well, you know what amps are? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, let's talk about amps first. So like I pace myself based on the audience. But when I'm just alone, I'm like, I don't even know where to start, because like I don't know they might not even know what a volt is, like the difference between volts and amps and how you calculate watts. And if I'm talking about amps, they're not going to know anything.
Gigawatts.
What the hell's a gigawatt?
I was like, Ron, what happens when that thing hits 88 miles an hour?
Well, you're gonna see. You're gonna go back in time, man.
I definitely can see Ron being the next Dr. Brown. No jokes. It's in him. He's
Yeah.
he's almost there.
Look, I got stuff we could blow up here if you want. Look, I was gonna show Miles. I was gonna show Miles. Basically like a little battery, right? You see? Hold on. Let's get this.
It's smoking, Ron.
Ron's like the
good.
Mary Poppins of electrics here.
Yeah.
I got this. Let me just show you this real quick. Hold on.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, that's a little tiny one, right? Little tiny battery, right? But it's 3.7 volts. But then here's the big dog right here. This guy right here, you see, you can actually, now what I was going to show him was that when you slow this down, watch the amps go up. You see it goes up to like 6 or 7?
Is that a flex capacitor?
Yeah.
What is that?
And what's going on is that's going to be on the lawnmower. And right now I got a drill set up, you see, and we're going to run this baby on a drill. So for the environmental kid, we're getting rid of the gas on a gas mower.
Hold on.
But
You're
yeah.
gonna run a lawnmower with a drill?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely,
Yeah.
he can do that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Is it
And then,
gonna be like a strong?
like you can do crazy stuff. Like you can measure speed with a laser, like you could like say, okay, you go like this, and you got to target it, and like right now we're spinning it like 870 RPM, and then you can change. And then if you change the amps, it doesn't matter, right? But if you change the voltage, right? Like you change the volt and the speed goes up, but the amps are the same. The amps only change when you use them. When I put a load, you see, they go up. So like there's a big difference between volts and amps, and like this is the kind of crazy stuff I do in the class. So I gotta like somehow put this into videos and questions and assessment. I don't know.
Ron, just turn on the camera and go to YouTube Live. Just start putting it out there for all the world to see. And for those for you who's listening to the podcast version of this, make sure you go out to podcastpd.com/69, where we will have a link to this live video, and I will link to Ron's on-screen demonstration, because the audio doesn't do it justice. So you have to come and watch the video here after the fact for the podcast listener.
Oh yeah. We have like a motor, and when I put up my hand on it to slow it down, the amps that it draws goes up, which you can measure. But then when I turn the voltage up, I can actually make the speed increase, but not the amps. And then if you take volts times amps, that's watts. So when someone says, oh, like when they talk about, Teslas, what they're talking about when they say, oh, it's like 100 kilowatt pack, they're talking about the volts times the amps per hour. That's the pack. And then, but like, you'll never see anyone bragging about the gasoline tank size on a gas car. Like, like, oh, cool, dude, how many gallons do you take? Right? No one cares, because that part doesn't matter, because you could have 100-gallon tank and that engine can't process more than a certain amount per minute, so when they tell you horsepower, they're just talking about processing speed. And we know that electricity can process power a lot faster. So anyway, that's my, I could go crazy with this stuff. I don't know.
You're really informative. I got to be honest with you. I'm sitting here like just listening to all this sciencey dialogue, and I'm just smiling and nodding. But I'm very impressed with everything that you're doing, because I'm lost, man.
No
anything happens in my house, if anything breaks down, I'm calling you first.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, basically, it comes down to processing speed. How fast can you get the power to your tires? That's really what you're asking, and how efficient. That's really it. And then, like the gas engine, 80% of that. You ever put your hand on the hood of a car after you're driving and it's hot, even in the winter? So you're paying for that. That's your money paying 80% of your money when you buy gasoline goes towards heat.
So you're telling me to buy a Tesla?
Oh my God, it's the only.
They'll deliver it right to your door, as I've heard.
Somebody wants to give me one, I'll take it.
Yeah, they'll just spray it with like sanitation or whatever. I don't know.
Hey, Ron, I can afford Instahot. My Instahot isn't working. Can you help me out with that?
What is Instahot?
It's a hot water thing. It's plugged in. Hot water.
You probably ran it low water and turned it on, and you burnt out the coil.
Can you fix that?
It ain't worth it.
No, Ron, going back to last week, we gave you a couple of recommendations. Did you try anything new this week? Flipgrid or anything we had talked about last week?
Flipgrid, I think, has a lot of potential if I could roll out over a year. But that was dead on arrival for me. I like it though, but it's not working. And you know what? Those kids alluded to. I think the problem is that to ask the kids to go on video, not everybody wants to do that. You know what I mean? Like, they're right. Kids. So, and then so Flipgrid was dead. Edpuzzle works a lot better than most. The retention's a lot better. Let's see. Everything else has been a disaster. Like I tried to do like a collaborative CAD program. I even gave them a TeamViewer and access to my computer so they could control the computer, and I don't know, it just faded out. So what I'm going to do is that this morning I spoke with that Apple representative, Mason. Yeah, and he was saying, don't type your, he said one of the biggest problems is don't type your directions, just do a video of your directions. So I'm like, okay. And then, so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to do a video tonight the problem is I just don't know where to start. You know, I don't even know where, because like I would just go, like I need to know what they don't know, and then I would continue from there. I kind of feed off of it, but I guess I don't know. What do you guys suggest?
You got to tell them to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell and leave a comment down below when you start making content. Just start making content.
Oh yeah, good idea. So maybe like I'll say, okay, here's the overview. I'll put out a question. What do you guys want to know? That's day one, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. And then yeah, that sounds good. And then I'll give them an update on my project. We're doing a gasoline to electric conversion on a lawnmower and doing it starting with a drill, you know. Yeah, I don't know. What else do you guys think?
Kevin, jump in here because you have great support with your videos. What can you share with Ron?
Well, first, I'm just trying to think about a way I can create a job for him and bring him up by me, and because bring his passion and energy. I don't know if he can teach, but I love the passion and energy. That's for sure.
He can teach. I've seen his videos. He can teach.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Flipgrid. I know you may not have got buy-in right away, but you definitely can have the kids put emojis over their faces. You know, for the ones who don't want to, you know, put themselves out there. You know, breaking it down in small segments, I think, is the way to go. You know, and teaching them the different aspects of what you were talking about. You lost me at, you know, right from the beginning there, but that's because it's just not my area. But, you know, small segments, I think, as Chris said, so then kids can comment and make suggestions on it. And then also maybe have the kids teach each other. I think having them describe it to you would give you a sense of what they know and don't know. And that could be part of those kind of videos, or, you know, you can do them voice notes too. You know, it doesn't have to be video. Kids can record their voices on their iPhones and then, you know, send that to you.
Is that on the Flipgrid or just independent?
And an iPhone or a Droid, I think anybody can make a voice note and send it as an email to you.
That sounds cool. That sounds cool. Okay. And then, you know, as far as like because before we left, we were building like a car in quarter scale, because we were doing a competition called the Shell Eco Marathon, but like that's canceled. But I thought we could do the car online, and it's not really working well, you know. So is there anything I could do about collaborative you know, work that's supposed to be competitive, you know?
Do you have a 3D printer?
I don't, but I got friends that have access to one. Yeah.
I mean, because couldn't the kids build like pieces of it and, you know, 3D print some things out and then kind of, you know, virtually build it? I don't, you know.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but the participation's like way down. I don't know. It's tough.
I do like that idea though. If you had them, you know, if you put them in, say, groups where they maybe had to come up with a simple, you know, just maybe say you got 4 or 5 kids in a group, come up with and design something where there's like 4 or 5 gears where they've got to maybe go to Thingiverse or somewhere where they can online design these parts. And then if you get them printed, you could say, all right, here's, you know, group A, I printed the parts as you planned them, and here's me on camera putting your machine together. Let's see if it worked.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No,
or can you scrap the whole car thing, and what can you do something related to the times we're in with having them design something? I
was thinking about switching it up and going with a ventilator, because I don't know how they make a ventilator, but I mean, that's kind of more pertinent right now. I mean, designing a car right now is kind of irrelevant, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that kid, like, you know, less cars on the street and stuff. Like I'm a car guy. I love cars. I got like a whole bunch of cars, but like the whole traffic thing is absurd. Driving to work to me is ridiculous. The whole thing's crazy. They don't have enough trains and proper buses. So, you know, I agree with that kid, you know. But yeah, so maybe we start doing a ventilator or something like that online, and then we'll print it out or test it out. I don't know.
I mean, you can write your own ticket if you can make a ventilator.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, maybe we'll do that this week. I don't know. And then we got spring break after that. I don't know how they're going to handle spring break. I guess just a week off of the online. I don't know. Do they even still honor the spring break, or is that not a thing?
It's up to the district.
My
Okay.
district, we got correspondence that said, spring break is, I have it the week before Easter and then Easter Monday. And my district sent out correspondence that said, yep, we're out through April 17th, but that spring break week, yes, we're off. We're done. Don't give the kids take the time for you, your families. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna try. To be honest, I wasn't making new video content for the kids last week and the last 2 weeks. I was throwing them the old content and then asking them questions, and then with my advanced class, I was trying to do the car thing. So maybe this week, with the advanced kids, I'll do the ventilator or the breathing thing, and then also I'll do new content for the intro kids, and we'll see what happens. And I'll put the videos on Ed Puzzle so I can ask them questions.
That's a great plan.
I agree with that.
All right, I'm going to do that.
Will you report back next week?
Yes. And I want to do, Miles, he wants to know about vacuums. Vacuums just electric motor and the ability to take the dust out of the air. And then so if I could do a little demo with him, you can measure amps, you can measure volts. He's got to know what a watt is, how to calculate watt. And so let's say, for instance, right? Let's say you got a 10 amp hour battery, and you run it at 10 amps. How long until that battery's empty? And the answer is an hour, right? So it's simple like that. But if you run it at 20 amps, it's gonna last a half hour, half the time. So these are things, because batteries are 100% the future. Burning a fuel is that's gonna be fun and novel for barbecues and stuff like that. But burning is something. Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's gonna be gone. It's not efficient.
Well,
Mr. G,
Ron, maybe we'll set up a distance science learning lesson with you later this week.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. Yeah.
And just one thing, in this crazy time, you may have to go with the KISS mentality a little bit here too. Keep it simple, stupid, and just go from there. Not offending anybody, but just narrow it down for the kids and make it more manageable for yourself and for them.
That's true. Yeah, good call. All right.
Hit that lowest common denominator. All right, Ron, we will talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Look forward to it, Ron. Get your report ready.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
What the hell is a gigawatt?
I'm telling you, he's gonna create time travel. It's gonna be Ron. We'll do it in a Tesla though.
There you go. All right, so AJ, let's wrap this up. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
All right, thanks for letting me jump in here and sit in the seat. It was fun. Kids did well, and I'm glad people got to hear their voices and got some ideas too on ways we can make changes as well. So every day changes.
There you go. The kids did great. They owned it. They really did.
There you go. Hashtag own it. WHS. Nice.
Yep.
There you go. Kevin, how can people connect with you?
Twitter, probably the best way. Kevin _ Carroll _ on Twitter. Instagram is the Waldwick High School WHS. That's where mostly school information gets put out there.
All right. So I'm going to do my best, Stacey, which, by the way, AJ, we didn't mention the whole time. Stacey is on special assignment today. We didn't bring it up at all.
Yeah, sorry, Stacey. Forgot about that. Kind of got right into it, man. We were running with it.
We were running. All right. So that'll do it for this episode of Podcast PD. Say goodnight, Kevin.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Say goodnight, AJ.
Good night, AJ. Say goodnight,
good night, Podcast. Oh, good night, Christopher. Good night, Podcast PD.
Thanks, everybody.